You throw another moon at me, and I'm gonna lose it.
Stark.
You know me?
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
My only curse is you.
All that for a drop of blood. You have my respect, Stark. When I'm done, half of humanity will still be alive. I hope they remember you.
Stop. Spare his life, and I will give you the stone.
No tricks.
Don't.
One to go.
Where is he? Did we just lose? Why would you do that? We're in the end game now.
Whosoever be he, where they shall have the power.
Whatever, man, it's a trick.
Well, please be my guest.
Come on. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be beautiful. You've had a tough week. We won't hold it against you if you can't get it up.
You might have seen this before, right? Right.
Still don't know how you do it. Smell the silent judgment. Please, Stark, by all means.
Here we go. Okay.
Uh-oh. Mm-hmm. Never one to shrink from an honest challenge.
Get after it.
It's physics. All right, so if I lift it, I then rule Asgard?
Yes, of course.
I will be reinstituting Prima Nocta. Be right back. Are you even pulling? Are you on my team?
Just represent, pull.
All right, let's go. Handle's imprinted, right? Like a security code? Whosoever is carrying Thor's fingerprints is, I think, the literal translation.
Yes, no, that's a very, very interesting theory. I have a simpler one. You're all not worthy.
Come on.
Welcome to Mr. Screen. In the Marvel multiverse, several problems have already occurred, but now with Tony Stark becoming Doom, many hitherto unanswered questions are emerging. In today's story, I will bring the moment Stark, for the first time, becomes worthy of using Thor's hammer. The rise of Iron Doom. Tony Stark woke up with a choke scream, his lungs burning as if he had inhaled the weight of an entire universe. He looked around, trying to understand where he was. The landscape before him was devastating, rubble of buildings, wreckage of advanced technology, and scars of battles that had left deep scars in the land. He recognized that scenario, it was Earth, but something was terribly wrong. The silence was deafening, broken only by distant thunder. Tony staggered, still feeling the pain and exhaustion of his last memory, the snap of his fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet. Shouldn't I be dead?" he muttered, rubbing his face. But before he could delve deeper into the question, a figure appeared from the shadows. Thor. The meeting with the god of thunder there was different. His armor was in tatters, his eyes radiated an almost godlike fury, and he held Stormbreaker with an intensity that made the blade glow red. "Do you have the courage to show up here, Stark?" Thor roared, his voice echoing across the apocalyptic wasteland. Tony blinked, confused. "Thor, what happened here? Where are the others?" "Steve, Natasha." Thor stepped forward, thunder roaring around him. "Dead, all of them, because of you." Tony stepped back in disbelief. "My cause, that doesn't make sense. I gave my life to save everyone." Thor laughed bitterly. "Save? Don't play with me, Stark. You destroyed everything. You became Doom." Those words hit Tony like a punch in the gut. He didn't know what Thor meant, but before he could ask, the Thunder God attacked, escape, and revelation. Tony barely had time to react. He activated what was left of his armor, but the pieces were damaged and slow. Stormbreaker almost hit him, but Tony managed to dodge at the last second, using his propulsion to escape. He found shelter in one of the wreckages. Inside, among piles of rubble and destroyed technology, he began to piece together the puzzle. Doom. Did I become Doom? No. That single quotes as not me. While searching the wreckage, he found a fragment of a holographic record. It was a recording. To his surprise, it was himself or someone who looked exactly like him in imposing black armor. "The multiverse cannot be saved," said the hologram. "He needs to be controlled. And I'm the only one who can do that." Tony realized the terrible truth. This world was not his. This was a universe where a version of himself had succumbed to the darkness, becoming a threat that devastated everything. Developing superior armor determined to correct history, Tony decided he needed new armor. He began working on the wreckage, collecting advanced technology and residual energy from ancient devices. "If I'm going to face ... well, myself," he said to himself as he welded a new part, "I need to be prepared for anything." The new armor was unlike anything he had ever created. Combining cutting-edge technology with shards of divine energy, he managed to extract from Stormbreaker during an attack by Thor. The armor became known as Superior Iron, but to his surprise, at the end of the process, something unexpected happened. The Mjolnir Momenter, who had tracked him, broke into the place where Tony worked. "No matter what you're planning, Stark, I'll finish you off before you do any more damage." Tony raised his hands. "Thor, listen to me. I'm not the Stark of this world. I'm trying to make this right." Thor didn't believe it. He charged forward, but before he could land a blow, Tony instinctively grabbed Mjolnir, which had been thrown at him. The hammer stopped in his hand. There was absolute silence. Thor stared, shocked, as Mjolnir glowed with intense blue energy. "That is impossible," Thor muttered. "Only the worthy can wield it." Tony looked at the hammer in his hand and Disbelief. I don't know what that means, but maybe you should start believing me. The unexpected alien Sarah Cuckley. Thor began to listen to Tony. Together, they analyzed what was left of the world and came up with a plan. To undo the damage, Tony would need to travel back in time and stop his counterpart from becoming Doom. But there was a problem. The energy needed to cross dimensions was colossal, and Tony would have to risk his life. Again, if that fails, Thor said, "You can destroy the multiverse." "If I don't try," replied Tony, "he is already destroyed." Ending with the superior iron armor and the help of Mjolnir, Tony managed to open a portal to the past. He returned to the pivotal moment when the alternate version of himself made the decision to become Doom. There, he faced his other self in an epic battle of intellect, strength, and power. "You don't understand. Doom Stark. Control is the only way to save the multiverse. What about free will?" replied Tony. "Saving something by force is not saving." The battle ended with Tony destroying the source of Doom's power and convincing his counterpart that there was another way. The redemption. When Tony returned to the present, the world had changed. The Avengers were alive again, and Thor greeted him with a rare smile. "You did the impossible, Stark," said Thor, "and he has proven himself more worthy than any of us ever imagined." But Tony, tired, just smiled. "Maybe, or maybe I just got lucky. Either way, let's make sure this never happens again." Doom. The emergence of Beyonder. Tony Stark watched the wreckage of the battle against his Doom counterpart. The world seemed to finally breathe a sigh of relief. Thor, by his side, rested Stormbreaker on the ground. While analyzing the devastated horizon, "We achieved," Thor said, his voice deep but relieved. "Doom has been defeated. Your world is saved." Tony, wearing his superior iron armor, analyzed the residual energy data around him. Something felt wrong. Energy levels were not decreasing as expected. On the contrary, they were increasing exponentially. Tony called, his voice thick with concern. "This isn't over yet. Something's wrong. The energy that Doom has built up hasn't disappeared, it's reorganizing itself." Before Thor could respond, an intense white light enveloped the sky, making day indistinguishable from night. The ground shook and a vortex of pure energy began to form in the air. Tony immediately activated his armor, protecting himself from the impact, while Thor raised Stormbreaker, preparing for what was to come. A Shigata do Beyonder from the vortex, a figure began to form. It was an imposing, almost ethereal presence. He did not appear to have a physical body, but his appearance was dazzling. A being of pure light, his features human but perfect, almost artificial. "I am the Beyonder," the figure declared, his voice reverberating as if spoken by 1,000 voices at once. "I was born from the destruction of Doom. His arrogance and manipulation of the forces of the multiverse gave me life." Thor stepped forward, his eyes glowing with divine energy. "If you are a creation of Doom, then you are a threat, and I will not allow you to continue." Beyonder turned his attention to Thor, his expression impassive, with a wave of his hand. He froze Thor in place, leaving the Thunder God unable to move. "Don't confuse me with Doom," Beyonder diss. "He was limited by his humanity. I am not. I am the multiverse. I am all that is and all that will be." Tony faces Beyonder. Tony activated his thrusters, flying towards the Beyonder. He launched a series of attacks, from high-powered lasers to guided missiles, but it was all futile. The explosions dissipated before they even reached the being, as if the very space around him rejected the violence. "Why do we always have to deal with omnipotent beings?" Tony muttered to himself, recalibrating his armor. Beyonder looked at Tony, intrigued. "You are fascinating, Stark, a human who constantly defies the odds. It was your intervention that destroyed Doom and gave me life. Therefore, I offer you a gift." Before Tony could react, Beyonder reached out his hand, and a torrent of memories began to invade his mind. Tony saw visions of other universes, versions of himself that failed, that became villains, that sacrificed everything. He also saw versions of himself who never gave up, who became more than heroes. Why are you showing me this? Tony asked, his voice shaking. Because I want to understand, replied Beyonder. You are the key. Humans like you are an anomaly. You fight even though you know you can't win. Why? An unlikely plan, and he knew he couldn't defeat the Beyonder with brute force. He would need to be smart. He looked at Thor, who was still frozen, and then at the Beyonder. If you want to understand, let me help, Tony said, his voice calm but firm. You don't need to destroy anything to find answers. Beyonder tilted his head, as if considering. And why would I trust you? Stark, humans lie, you betray. You destroy, perhaps, Tony replied, but that's what makes us different from you. We are flawed, but it's in those flaws that we find the strength to be better. Beyonder watched Tony for a moment before releasing Thor. The Thunder God fell to his knees, breathing heavily, but quickly stood up, ready to fight again. He's playing with you, Stark, Thor growled. This being needs to be destroyed. Tony raised a hand to calm Thor. We cannot defeat him with force. Thor, we must find another way. The ultimate strategy. Tony worked frantically, using the little time the Beyonder gave him to build an interface capable of channeling the energy of the multiverse. He knew that in order to defeat Beyonder, he would need to use his own strength against him. Meanwhile, Thor stood guard, watching the Beyonder. Suspiciously, do you really believe this will work? Thor asked. Tony looked at him seriously. I don't know, but it's our only chance. When the device was ready, Tony activated the interface. An intense light enveloped the surroundings, and Beyonder was taken by surprise. What are you doing? He asked, his voice finally showing a trace of emotion, concern, showing you what it means to be human. Tony replied, sacrifice, and Renaissance. The device began to channel the Beyonder's energy, compressing it into a single point. But the process was taxing Tony's armor. He knew he wouldn't survive. Stark, pair. Thor shouted, this will kill him. Tony just smiled. I've died before. Maybe I'm good at it. With one last effort, he completed the process. The Beyonder's energy was dissipated and the being was reduced to a harmless form. But Tony fell, his armor disintegrating around him. Thor ran to him, holding him in his arms. You did it, Stark. You won. Tony, exhausted, smiled weakly. Tell that to the next omnipotent being that comes along. And so, Tony Stark saved the multiverse again, proving that even in the face of the greatest adversity, the human heart is more powerful than any force in the cosmos. Continue. So, what did you think of this story? You've come this far. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video. Bye.